This video is sponsored by War Thunder. Find out more later in the video. Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. It's a game I just can't stop thinking about. It's got aura, man. The atmosphere, the music, the dark void consuming most of the screen when you're dueling, those mysterious, sinister backgrounds when conversing with various characters, and of course, it's got that brutal luck factor. It's the ultimate roulette of speedrunning, at least that's what I called it when I made a video about it back in 2022. In it, I covered the absurdity of this game's difficulty and a bit about its speedrun world record history. Back then, I admittedly wasn't as knowledgeable about the game as I am now, and made the video during my infatuation phase when I just started getting a grasp of the mechanics. For the world record history part, I only covered any percent, and in the years since, the 15 card mod category that only got a very brief mention has absolutely exploded in popularity, skyrocketing Forbidden Memories to the most active PS1 game on speedrun.com, and it's not even close. So what is the 15 card mod? Well, when you beat an opponent in Forbidden Memories, you normally only get one new card as your reward. So to improve your deck, you need to do a lot of grinding, which some runners found to be tiring. One of these runners was Spike Vegeta, who reached out to Forbidden Memories 2 ROM hack creator Ghost, and asked if he could create a mod where you can get 5 cards per duel won. A few days later, Ghost would create a tool that allowed you to customize your drops anywhere between 2 and 15, where 5, and especially 15, became the most used ones, with 15 card having over 300 submitted runs to speedrun.com today. The mod was created in 2019, and in the years since, runners have gotten nasty at this game. Today, we're gonna skip the basics. We're gonna get nerdy, we're gonna get sweaty, we're getting technical. So consider this video a sequel, as I'll be discussing various tech and game knowledge that I considered too advanced for my first video, as well as a dive into the history of 15 card, going over what it takes to be a good runner, and discuss how much further the current record could be pushed with perfect luck. To start, I'd like to go over a few of the key differences that differentiate a 15 card run from a regular 1 card run, or vanilla as we call it. Most people that have run both agree that to get a good time in 15 card, you need to be pretty skilled at the game. In vanilla, as long as you know the basics but get very lucky, you could land yourself in the top 20 if the stars align. But luck alone will not get you there in 15 card. One of the biggest reasons is deck menuing. After defeating each opponent, you need to quickly scan through the 15 cards you got, assess which ones you want to put in your deck, and take out cards corresponding to how many you need. New players will tend to overthink this, wasting valuable time to make sure their deck is as good as it can be. Experienced players will spend only a handful of seconds deck menuing as they realize, even though they didn't fully optimize the deck, they did it fast, and that's what matters. Especially considering you have to deck menu over 25 times throughout the run. Mastery over this skill is exclusive to card mod categories. Since you only get 1 card per duel won in vanilla, deck menuing isn't even something you need to learn at all there. Turn speed is also a massive separator. How quickly you can make a decision during duels is a skill that you'll only improve by putting in the hours. Good runners will save several minutes just knowing what cards they need to toss, which cards fuse with what, and what Guardian Star you should select depending on the opponent. Guardian Stars are a rock paper scissors type mechanic where you gain an extra 500 attack and defense if your Guardian Star beats theirs, and they gain 500 attack and defense if your Guardian Star loses to theirs. There are 2 separate wheels to keep track of, one with 4 Guardian Stars and one with 6. So for example, Neptune, usually related to water monsters, beats Mars, which is usually fire monsters. But Neptune loses to Pluto, which is typically thunder monsters. This makes for some interesting scenarios where, in order to take control of a duel, you need to sometimes pull out some elite level Guardian Star ball knowledge to get you out of a sticky situation. Let's say you're fighting Weevil, whose strongest card is Jirai Gumo at 2200 attack. You draw mostly garbage, but see that your best fusion is Warrior plus Machine to make Cyber Soldier at 1500 attack. On its own, this is not enough to beat Weevil's card, but every card you play has 2 selectable Guardian Stars, and Cyber Soldier just so happens to have Mars as its second Guardian Star, beating Jirai Gumo's Jupiter. But still 200 attack off, you then put Cyber Soldier in defense position, and its defense is 1700, and with Mars, you tie Jirai at 2200. When the AI sees that they can't get over your card, they will put their card in defense position, so the next turn, you kill it and take control of the board. While you have 2 Guardian Stars that you can select, the AI will only ever pick the first one, which is super helpful. Out of the 10 cards Weevil is most likely to play, 5 of them have Jupiter as its main guardian star, meaning that even if Jiraigumo wasn't played, Mars is statistically the best guardian star to start with against Weevil when playing weaker monsters. Picking Mars can still lose to Violet Rain, Toon Alligator, and Great White, who are all Neptunes, but with their overall lower attack, it's better to focus on playing around the Jupiters instead. There's also scenarios where playing a weaker monster is a better play purely due to its guardian star. Let's say you're going up against Pegasus with this hand. The strongest fusion here by raw stats is Beast plus Wings to make Garvus at 2000 attack, a card that can only be beaten by Pegasus' top 3 monsters: MBD, Bakuri Box, and Illusionist Faceless Mage. There's also Man-Eating Black Shark that Garvus can beat if you pick Pluto, but then you lose to the Uranus cards like Meteor Dragon, Practical, Rude Kaiser, and Togex. If you pick Jupiter, you now beat all those cards, but lose to Vermilion Sparrow, Flame Swordsman, Garuzis, Yamadron, and Dragon Piper in Mars. Still, starting in Pluto is better, and Garvus has a 25.05% chance of winning on turn 1 with this Guardian Star, and only 18.67% with Jupiter. Not great odds, and by re-examining the hand, we can find a slightly better play. Beast plus Plant creates Flower Wolf with 1800 attack. 200 less than Garvus, but Flower Wolf's second Guardian Star is Sun, and Pegasus' most common play is Bakuri Box in Moon, which he plays on turn 1 31.47% of the time. If he does play it, we end up in the same situation as on Weevil, where tying the attack points of your opponent's monster makes the AI turn it to defense position. Flower Wolf's win percentage on turn 1 against Pegasus is 33.44% when played in Sun, and 15.48% when played in Jupiter. So it just goes to show that knowing what every duelist in the game is most likely to play and playing your Guardian Stars accordingly can go a long way. Not only that, but being able to do it effortlessly and fast, so you lose the least amount of time making decisions. Speed is at the forefront at the top level in 15 card. And while turn speed and deck menuing make up the bulk of the time save, there's also memorizing how many dialogue boxes each character speaks during each cutscene, and then tapping in a rhythm accordingly. There's inputting password codes quickly. And all kinds of minuscule things you wouldn't notice actually save time. Forbidden Memories has gotten hardcore, and you'd think with getting 15 cards per duel, the run would be easier. Well, at a top level, they're both brutal in their own ways, but one section where 15 card is fortunately a little easier is how the run starts. I mentioned in my previous video that, in vanilla, it's very essential you start with an equip that works for Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, the best easily fusible late game monster. Well, here, lots of runners often start without one if the rest of the deck is good. And even if it isn't, you can sacrifice about a minute to clean up the majority of your deck by going to Free Duel and doing one duel against Duel Master K. This is supposed to be a tutorial fighter who's got an exact duplicate of your deck, and his drop chances for Dragons and Thunders aren't bad at all. Once you have your deck, getting Dragons and Thunders throughout the campaign World Tournament duels, rather than farming for them, is extremely important. In 15 card, Thunders are especially hard to acquire, but you know what Thunder isn't hard to acquire? That would be this video's sponsor, War Thunder, and that's because it's free. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, and as mentioned, you can get it now for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile devices. In War Thunder, you can take control of over 2,500 tanks, helicopters, planes, and ships representing 10 major nations, ranging from biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the fighter jets and main battle tanks of today. Immerse yourself in the intense combat of War Thunder, where the game's realistic raw sound effects and graphics make you feel like you're in the middle of the action. War Thunder has an incredibly active community with over 95 million players who you can join in epic online PvP battles. With an unmatched wealth of high-quality content to discover, there's simply no game better suited for fans of military history. One of my favorite parts of the game is that you can learn how combat vehicles are actually put together, and see how bullets affect them as they penetrate through the armor. You can see exactly what the damage looks like on the inside with this cool X-ray view. Sign up on War Thunder today by clicking on the links in the pinned comment or the video description, and get access to the massive bonus pack available for new and returning players that haven't played for at least 6 months for PC and console that sign up using my links. In this pack, you get the exclusive Vehicle Decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account to get you going. This pack is limited time only, so don't miss it. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring the video. let's get back to Forbidden Memories. In vanilla, you do so much grinding that you end up racking quite the star chips that you can use to buy thunders from the password screen. But in an ideal 15 card run, you will only win enough chips to be able to afford 2. Depending on your thunder count going into Mai and Keith, you have your first real choice in the run, and that is between going for SA POW or BCD POW Tech. These are different types of ranks you can get on a duel, and I talked a bit about them in my first video too. What rank you get determines the 15 cards you will acquire from which drop pool. If you get S or A POW on Mai and Keith, they can both drop Bold Escargot and Immortal of Thunder at a 30 in 2048 chance. And yes, every duelist drop pool in Forbidden Memories adds up to 2048, so this is just how every runner calculates it. These thunders can be super valuable to get, seeing as you don't get many other thunder drop opportunities elsewhere. If you do happen to have a really good thunder count early on, you can go for the BCD rank in hopes of getting an invisible wire. This is low-key one of the most important cards you can possibly get in the run, with Mai having a 26 in 2048 chance of dropping it, and Keith slightly higher with 30. You can also get it from Bakura at 32, and Weevil drops Bear Trap at a 16 on BCD, which serves a similar purpose. And keep in mind, when I say 32 in 2048, that is a 32 in 2048 chance per card, so roll that chance 15 times. Why is having one of these trap cards so useful? Really, it all boils down to the campaign fight against Pegasus. A section of the previous video I completely left out due to it being far too advanced is the concept of A-teching. To reiterate, there are 3 drop pools in Forbidden Memories, and when going through the game normally, you'll typically only see SA POW or BCD POW Tech. That is because upon starting each duel, your default rank is always S-POW. But the more things you do in a duel like fuse, lose life points, equip, etc., the more you end up towards the tech side, with some actions swinging the scale more than others. Activating a trap card gives you a lot of tech points, and is why you ideally want either Bear Trap or Invisible Wire before you get to Pegasus. If you have one of them, you can do what's called a campaign A-tech. In this run, you want to avoid doing duels that don't advance the story since it loses time. So if you can do your A-tech against Pegasus in the campaign rather than in free duel, that's optimal. But you won't always have one of these traps. If you don't, you'll have to keep playing through the story and hope Pegasus drops Acid Trap Hole at 64 in 2048, Ishizu drops Widespread at 32, or Kaiba drops Acid Trap Hole at 84. If you win one of these, you can A-tech in free duel, but if you don't and you're going for a good time, it's a dead run in 90% of cases. So why do we need to A-tech? Well, I'm sure you know that the final 7 in this game is fucking impossible, so how do you beat them? We need equips. Cool, how do you get equips? You A-tech Pegasus. Okay, there we go, how do we do that? Yeah, that's easy. Just do 15 fusions, 4 effective attacks, play 1 card face down, activate 1 magic, equip 1 card, activate a trap, make sure that you play 37 or more cards from your deck, that 9 turns have passed, and then you're below 7,000. Listen, I know it's a lot, and to be fair, it's not the only way you can A-tech in this game, it's just the fastest. Being able to memorize all the different things you need to do is hard enough, but there are also some other annoying factors. The 2 most common ways to fail an A-tech from purely bad luck is bottom decking your trap and Pegasus top decking MBD. But there's also skill-based ways to fail too. I mentioned that one of the requirements to get the A-tech rank is equipping a card. Well, if you didn't start with an equip that works on Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, your knowledge is now put to the test, as you now need to find a card that Vile Germs goes on. There are 28 different equips you can start with, and knowing how to pull off a successful A-tech with just half of these requires some good game knowledge. Let's do a quiz. Does Crimson Sunbird take Ray's body heat? Yes. Does Rogue Doll take Dark Energy? No. Does Tenderness take Legendary Sword? Apparently they do. Does the Snakehair take Beast Fangs? Yup, she somehow found a way. Last one. Does Twin Long Rods number 2 take Insect Armor with Laser Cannon? Yeah, sorry, that one was just a bait. Let me know how you did in the comments. But seriously, sometimes the cards you least expect take some wacky equips. It makes sense for the most part, but Stone Ghost taking Black Pendant? Wing Egg Elf taking Book of Secret Art? Okay, with all due respect, do you expect me to believe that you can read this book with no eyes? That's like asking the thing that hides in the mud to become a pole vaulter. Like, it's not happening. When you do get a successful A-Tech, expect disappointment. Your run is at the complete mercy of these drops, and you win nothing but garbage more often than not. Your chance to get a useful magic or trap card is 17.48%, which doesn't sound bad on paper, but some cards are way better than others. Umi at 64 is nice, but can easily be won in other places. Dragon Capture Jar at 64 can help against Settle Third and Nightmare's Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragons. But in an ideal scenario, you're just hoping that neither duelist play it. Crush Card is a super rare 2 in 2048 and is basically just Raigeki, except it kills all monsters with 1500 attack or over. Widespread Ruin at 64 is the best trap card in the game that kills any monster that attacks into it, which can get rid of some big cards in the endgame. Dragon Treasure at 36 and Bright Castle at 64 both buff Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon by 500 attack and defense each. And finally, we have the almighty Megamorph. Megamorph is just the best card in the game, there's no getting around it. It gives 1000 attack and defense to any monster in the game, and for 15 card, it speeds up nearly every fight when you play it. It gets you out of sticky situations, it increases your win percentage against the final 7, there's nothing this card can't do. When going for a good time in 15 card, you're hoping to leave the Pegasus A-Tech with at least one, otherwise you'll have to try to beat the game with only basic equips. The reason having no Megamorphs is so bad is best displayed in this final 6 calculator I have here, made by FM runner Fabu TK. Here, you can punch your deck into the calculator and see what your chances of saving Egypt are. I put in a basic deck here with 12 Dragons, 9 Thunders, 2 Umis, 1 Widespread, and 2 Bright Castles. And the chances to beat the final 7 is 1.55%. And this isn't even accounting for Labyrinth Mage, who comes before the final 6. Add 1 Megamorph into this deck and you suddenly jump to 7.66%. 2 Megamorphs is 16.83%, and 3 is 29.14%. Another card that can make your deck jump up very drastically in win percentage is Meteor B Dragon, or MBD. Adding just 1 on top of the already 3 Megamorphs yields a staggering 49.32%. MBD is a winnable card on low Meadow Mage at a 20 in 2048, but the problem is that you need an S or A POW, which is not something you're guaranteed to get every time. Meadow Mage's most common play on turn 1 at 20.38% is Millennium Shield at 3500 defense when played on Sogen, which is the default for this duel. Not only do you get walled 1 in 5 times here, his next 2 common plays are a Guardian Star Crapshoot. His second strongest play has a 16.46% chance of seeing play on turn 1, and it's Judgeman in Sun at 2700 attack on Sogen, which beats Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon when played in Moon. If you play in Pluto, you of course beat it, but now you lose to his third strongest card, Empress Judge in Uranus, at a turn 1 percentage of 13.26%. Combined, you'll see these 3 cards 50% of the time on turn 1, and will drastically lower your odds of potentially getting an S or A POW. So you can kiss that MBD goodbye, and all the other goodies he can drop on this rank too. So now you know. The name of the game in 15 card speedruns is get fast duels and get good drops while you're at it. Like, yes, you can technically go to the final 7 with any deck and just hope, but you'd rather have something that actually stands a fighting chance. There's been a hot debate for years on whether or not A-Teching is actually worth it. When you A-Tech on Pegasus, you're typically drawing out the duel to the point where it ends up taking around 4 to 5 minutes. You can get some good cards, sure, but the duel could have potentially been over in around a minute given some decent RNG. Rex, Shoddy, Pegasus, Ishizu, and Mage Soldier all drop regular equip cards on BCD at decent percentages. And if you can rack up 3, 4, maybe 5 equips, it can be worth it to just skip the A-Tech and full send it. I put in another random deck with decent monster counts and 5 equips just out of curiosity, and it comes out to a bit over 7%, which isn't terrible odds. Now the main issue isn't just the win percentage, but rather with speed. If you do A-Tech and win 2 or 3 Megamorphs, every time you draw one and the components for Twin-Headed, you instantly beat the strongest card against nearly every duelist in the game. It's just Khepra, Anubisius, Seto Third, and Nightmare that have anything stronger than Megamorph Twin-Headed. On shrines like Ocean and Mountain, the default fields of Umi and Mountain power up Twin-Headed to 3300, and with Megamorph, it's now 4300. 2 attacks to the face with a 4300 is a kill, so if you get lucky and draw this combo, it's some really nice time save. For this reason, most runners still A-Tech in their 15 card runs, but as for the world records, it can get a little mixed. The first ever sub 120 in the category, a 119.39 by Canik set in July of 2019, gets a great ATEC, with 1 widespread, 1 bright castle, 2 dragon treasures, and a megamorph. Considering his vanilla record at the time was a 253, it was hard to know how much further 15 card could really go. A fellow Frenchman named Arius would lower it to 116.14 a month later, the first world record with a true ATEC-less miracle deck to beat the game. He started Dark Hole Dark Energy, won a Beast Fangs from Shoddy, and added a second Dark Energy by getting one on Mage Soldier. His odds of beating the game going into Final 6 was 2.42%, but was able to capture victory after victory anyway. The next person to lower the record is an infamously knowledgeable and skilled Pokemon runner. His name is Exarion, and he would achieve several records. A 114.19 in April 2021, a 112.39 in July 2021, and a 110.55 in February 2022. This record was the first big wall. When it was set, there were 96 submitted runs to the 15 card leaderboard, and while the community grew nearly twice the size to 188 a year and a half later, nobody was able to take down his run. Exarion's decision making was quick, and his knowledge of the game was extensive. His Payspin account has so much random info regarding Forbidden Memories that it seemed like if you wanted to beat his run, you had to equal his knowledge and play with his confidence. And to this day, only a handful of runners have managed to do so. With the time now seemingly optimized, the next record would only be by 13 seconds. In August of 2023, the runner Alfarg would achieve a 110.42, a run with by far the most disgusting deck so far. He pulled off a campaign ATEC and got 1 Dragon Capture Jar, 1 Bright Castle, and triple Megamorph. The chance to get just 1 Megamorph on Pegasus in 15 card is 37.9%. The chance to get 2 is 6.82%. And to get 3 or more, it's 1.05%. But you can only have 3 of the same card in your deck, so getting more is irrelevant. But this means your chance of getting triple Megamorph from Pegasus is 1 in 95 duels. And you get to roll that chance once in anywhere between 30 to 90 minutes, depending on how quickly you get a deck and all these other factors. The next 2 records are polar opposites from each other. Azura would get a 110.13, again with the super rare triple Megamorph. And a year later, Arius would pull off another miracle deck on the final 7 and achieved the first sub 110 with 109.50.
Let's fucking go, chat.
You can see that because he did an ATEC on Pegasus, he gained just over 3 minutes on Azura's run. But due to bad luck and lacking Megamorphs, he would lose 6 minutes to Azura's final 7. A run that seemed fairly optimized now suddenly had minutes on the table. Sure, you could argue they were always there, but it became so much more clear after Arius's run. Someone had to capitalize. It had taken nearly 3 years to push the time from 110 to 109. How soon would 108 happen? Well, I want you to meet Rhyse, a Brazilian FM runner who on January 13th, 2025, woke up on the right side of the bed. Rhyse was already ranked 9th in the world, so he was seen by many as a great player, and certainly a record contender, seeing as he had the deck menuing and duel speed on point. The first bit of time save Rhyse had over other runners was skipping Duel Master K at the beginning. I mentioned that runners would fight him once very quickly to improve their deck slightly, but Rhyse didn't have to, as he began his run with 2 dragons, 1 thunder, Raigeki, Umi, Invigoration, which is, in my opinion, the literal best magic combination in the game. On top of that, he started with only 1 fiend and 1 insect monster. These monster types are trash, and when you first start the game, your deck is always full of these pests, so getting only 2 is very lucky. Rhyse begins his run by heading to Hippochan 1 to lose the scripted duel. To lose this fast, the idea is to play a weak card, and then Hippochan will hopefully play something like an MBD to deal lots of damage to your life points. You then play another weak monster and ram it into MBD, then he kills you the next turn for an optimal loss. Rhyse unfortunately starts out his run getting pretty unlucky as he faces a Wall Shadow at 3000 defense, which the AI will only ever leave in defense position, leaving him at 2850 life points after attacking into it with 2 monsters. Hippochan then plays Sengenjin, which still doesn't kill him. all in all wasting at least 20 seconds early on. Rhyse's Rex was also fairly slow. His opening hand is pretty trash and is forced to play ThaRixer, which beats most of Rex's deck except for Clown Zombie at 1350 attack, which you'll see on turn 1 9% of the time. Luckily he doesn't play it on turn 1, but he does top deck it on turn 2. Rhyse sees the result screen after Rex at 628, which is actually very slow. You can get around 550 or even lower if everything goes super according to plan. But this is about where the negatives about the run ends. From here on out, things get absolutely ridiculous. First off, his Rex drops are superb. He gets 1 Dragon Zombie, 1 Electric Snake, 1 female card, and 3 usable beasts. After a fast Weevil, he gets 2 Tripwire Beasts, each with a 26 and 2048 chance of dropping, solving his early game Thunder issues immediately. After a quick Mai, 2 Dragons get added to the deck, and after Keith, another 2, putting him at 7-4 after only a handful of fights. On Shoddy, Rhyse gets a rare 3-turn kill. This is something you don't typically see in World Tournament, but he was able to play Twin-Headed on turn 1 and then Flame Cerberus with Invigoration on turn 2. For his efforts, he gets another Thunder to put him at 5 and a Beast Fangs. This deck is officially money, but he has not won a trap yet, which he needs for the campaign A-Tech, and he only has Bakura left to pick one up. Here, Rhyse gets very lucky. Bakura's chance to start with a 3000 defender on turn 1 is 36.13%, which can lose you minutes if you can't find a way to get past it. Yeah, he dodges that chance, and after the fight, he does win Invisible Wire. But look at this menu. He literally just throws it into his deck quickly and goes. Time and time again, I see people fiddle around in the menu to make sure they have enough fusion material so they can actually get the 15 needed to A-Tech Pegasus, but Rhyse is so confident in his cards that he knows double checking is a waste of time. Rhyse is also a master of the A-Tech. He keeps track of everything he needs to do perfectly. It's nice to see a good player get rewarded, cause holy shit.
Guys, chegou a minha vez, mano. Chegou a minha vez.
In case you missed it, this is another instance of the fabled triple Megamorph, which again is a 1.05% chance to happen. And he gets a dragon and 2 dragon capture jars as well. The run is officially on, and Rhyse now just has to keep it together. From here, he hopes to win a few more dragons and thunders, and also to get lucky in as many duels as possible. Understandably shaken from the triple Megamorphs that he had just won, Rhyse messes up the Ishizu duel by getting the wrong rank. Apal misses out on the opportunity to get Umi, Widespread, and Dragon Treasure, which could have made his deck even more cracked. Kaiba drops another Dragon Capture Jar, making it 3 in total, and Mage Soldier drops another Tripwire Beast to improve his Thunder count. Entering the second half of the run, Rhyse completely slaughters the mages. To put it in perspective, a 3-turn is ideal, 4 is fine, 5 is mediocre, and anything worse is very slow. He starts out with a 5-turn on Low Ocean and a 4-turn on Sekhmetan, a 3-turn on Low Mountain, and a 4 on Atenza. Now, 3 on Low Desert, 3 on Martis, 3 on Low Meadow, 5 on Khepra, 3 on Low Forest, and 3 on Anubisius. Getting this many 3-turns all in the same run is extremely rare, and at this point, Rhyse knows he's got an insane pace going. Now it's time for the final 7, and he heads into them at 51:02, which is completely mad. Entering at sub 1 hour is a decent benchmark, and he's literally 9 minutes ahead of that. Throughout the mages, he also improved his odds of beating the game, with him now having 10 thunders. I punched in his pre-final 7 deck into the calculator, and anyone would take these numbers. 42.59%, which is mostly thanks to the 3 Megamorphs, 3 DCJs, and strong Thunder count. Rhyse's final 7 is also very fast, and it all starts with Lab Mage. His strongest card is Gate Guardian at 3750 attack, which Twin-Headed can just barely get over if you draw one Megamorph. Rhyse's first card in his opening hand is Megamorph, and he gets the components for Twin-Headed too, which is an instant 3-turn win. He wins 2 more Thunders, including Thunder Dragon, increasing his win percentage even more, and heads into Sebek. His strongest card is Metal Zoa at 3000 attack, and once again, Rhyse's opening hand is Twin-Headed Megamorph, another instant win. He does actually fumble by attacking with his equipped Curse of Dragging into a Launcher Spider, causing a clash and a turn wasted for about 15 seconds. Next is Neku, whose strongest card is Skull Knight at 3150 attack on Yami. All you need is one equip to win this duel, and Rhyse draws his Beast Fangs on turn 1, another relatively clean 4-turn kill. The upcoming 4 duels are some of the hardest in the game, and realistically, it's where Rhyse could possibly lose. Alright, never mind, there's Megamorph again. Haishin's second strongest card is Gate Guardian, so this is another win. He even draws a second one the next turn, ensuring a fast 3-turn. Seto third is the hardest fight in Forbidden Memories. With his 56.8% chance of starting with Blue Eye's Ultimate Dragon at 4500 attack, this duel is do or die. To get over this monstrosity, you'd need double Megamorph or some kind of removal. Rhyse's opening hand is extremely promising. He draws one Megamorph and Dragon Capture Jar. The only thing this hand loses to is double Ultimate. He can remove the first one with DCJ, then hope he goes down to Gate Guardian, MBD, or lower, then Megamorph a Twin-Headed and take out whatever he plays. Rhyse starts out by playing a basic monster to see what Seto plays, and it is indeed an ultimate. He rips the DCJ, and now he has to hope he doesn't have a second one. Fortunately for him, the moment he sees Moon in the bottom right corner, he knows it can't be an ultimate, and it is a Gate Guardian. Seto has about a 4% chance to top deck an ultimate per turn, but Rhyse is able to dodge it and take the win. The penultimate fight is Dark Knight, whose strongest card is MBD, which is instantly beaten with Rhyse drawing yet another Twin-Headed Megamorph opening hand for an easy win. The last fight in the game is Nightmare, and his strongest card is once again Blue Eye's Ultimate Dragon. Only a 28% chance for him to play it as opposed to Seto Third's 56%, but it can still be a scary fight. Rhyse finally gets in trouble for the first time ever during Final 7, and draws the fabled 5-monster special, which he swiftly tosses. Nightmare, however, throws him the biggest bone ever and starts Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, literally his 12th strongest card and a 1 in 44 chance for him to play this on turn 1. Obscenely low. What's funny is, Rhyse's next hand is once again equipless, and he's forced to go for a tie against Nightmare's Twin-Headed and hope he doesn't top deck something stronger. Nightmare plays a second Twin-Headed, and since it's a tie, he puts them both in defense position. Rhyse manages to capture control of the board and take down the win. Remember how I asked how soon 108 would happen after the community had finally broken through to the 109? Well, I don't think anybody was ready for this time.
Inacreditável. Quem diria, né, mano? Primeira vez que eu fiz uma tech 13 Megamorph, né, mano? Tô impactado, mano. Achava que eu ia pegar um tempo bom assim. Eu já ia pegar tipo 1,8, 1,9, sei lá, mano. O rank do Rex Bia, né, mano? Eu perdi 1 minuto na Ocean Shrine. Eu perdi tipo um turno no Kepura. O resto foi muito bom, né, mano? E agora eu vou jogar outra coisa, mano.
A 106.31. A world record cut by over 3 minutes. This is one of the greatest Yu-Gi-Oh! Speedruns ever, and we'll see how long it takes for anyone to beat it. It has a perfect starting deck, wins a lot of Thunders early on, wins Beast Fangs on Shoddy, doesn't get walled on Bakura, wins Invisible Wire from Bakura to enable Campaign A-Tech on Pegasus, a 1.05% triple Megamorph win from Pegasus along with 2 DCJs, more good Dragons and Thunder drops later, laughably fast Mage duels, and draws an Equip or Megamorph on turn 1 during every single Final 7 duel except for Nightmare. This run is unbelievably good, but to be a little bit realistic, it could technically go down a few more minutes. The opening part of the run could be approximately 30 to 40 seconds faster. He got the wrong rank on his Shizu, there were a handful of 5-turn duels in the run, a small fumble on Sebek, and he could have won MBD as well to make the deck even more insane. There is obviously time save in not A-teching at all either. Rhyse spent approximately an extra 3 minutes prolonging the Pegasus duel to get his Megamorphs, which ensures faster fights later in the game, but say in some faraway Dreamland scenario, every duelist gives you easy modes and plays absolute garbage, to the point where now you barely need the equips anymore, then skipping the A-tech would be faster. But now you're relying on extreme levels of luck, but it is technically a viable route through the game. To reiterate a bit on the 5-turn duels, yes, they're slow, but it's a miracle that no duels in the run besides Pegasus went longer than that. Out of the 27 duels Rhyse did in his run, only Rex, Low Ocean, Kepra, Seto Third, and Nightmare were 5-turn duels. For 4-turn duels, Rhyse had 10, which is really solid. But the amazing thing is that another 11 duels were 3 turns. Considering that your deck during some of the early duels like Rex and Weevil isn't even good enough to get 3 turns, still managing a total of 11 throughout the run is insane. Where Rhyse excels as a player is his lightning fast turn speed. I went through every turn he played in his run and timed how fast it takes for him to make a decision, and the average is about 2.25 seconds. And in 95% of cases, he makes the best possible play in that time too. Seriously mind-blowing. Rhyse told me that he had always been interested in speedrunning. He's been watching marathon runs and videos from me in Summoning Salt for a while, but when he saw my Ultimate Roulette of Speedrunning video, he decided to try his hand at speedrunning himself, starting with Forbidden Memories. And look where he's at now. He's the 15-card, all-duelist, and 5-card record holder. Yes, he did get really lucky to achieve the times, but he certainly put in the hours. It took him nearly 8,000 attempts to get his 15-card run. He has around 4,000 attempts in all duelists, and a bit over 2,000 in 5-card. Forbidden Memories has been thriving for the past few years. Tournaments get up to hundreds of viewers on the Twitch channel Forbidden Memories SR, and on the Brazilian channel FMVR, it can almost reach 1,000. The Brazilians have really elevated the level of play in FM as of late, and I think it's largely due to its well-thriving race scene. Over on racetime.gg, you can find anywhere from 4 to 10 daily races of Forbidden Memories. People race 15 card all the time, and it's not hard to understand why. Every single run you do in this game is different from the last, and the endless amount of knowledge you can gain from playing it again and again keeps runners coming back. A lot of people chalk Forbidden Memories up to being a horribly RNG-ridden game and you'd have to be a masochist to run it, and while that might be a little bit true, especially with vanilla, it's so much more than that. And I hope this video could give you at least a small insight into how intricate and cool the game really is. The 15-card record will continue to fall, but who knows when and by how much. I suppose we'll never know as long as it stays sunny in Egypt. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check it out for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile and use my links below to register. Those who haven't played for 6 months or are brand new to the game will receive a massive bonus pack, including 100,000 in-game currency, multiple premium vehicles, and more. And thank you very much to all my patrons for supporting the channel. I've been streaming a ton over on Twitch lately, so if you want to see speedruns of Yu-Gi-Oh! FM, Dragon Ball, Jak and Daxter, really any of the stuff I've covered on this channel, consider stopping by. In any case, thanks for watching, take care, and have a good one.